Everybody, good afternoon. This is Victor Ruiz from Getting Healthy Today. I just want to take some time right now, maybe 20 minutes or a half hour of your time. Thanks for showing up. Happy Easter, happy Passover. I just want to take some time today to talk about a subject that I titled Building a Stronger Mindset to Success. I went to a conference recently on Thursday at Jersey City for the Reentry Conference for prisoners and more information about that. And I was able to see a lot of interesting people. Not only did I talk Mike Tyson, Governor Christie, ex-Governor McGreevey, a gentleman by the name of Chef Jeff Henderson, who was in prison for almost 10 years in a federal prison, and then was released and became a success. So when I talk about success today, there's really no definition other than your own definition. So one of the things we have to try to do is come up with a definition for ourselves about what it is. What is success? Because success is different to different people. So my suggestion to all of you is when you look at success, ask yourself, what do you believe is successful? Now, one of the things about mindset is that we tend to look at other people that are more successful than others and more successful than us. And with that comes some problems, and that is we try to compare ourselves to other people who are better off than us. And a lot of times that can take us away from the focus of what we have for our own goals. So one of the things we do have to stay close to thinking about is having a vision. So when we have a vision about what we want, and we can actually visualize ourselves going through the finish line and getting to what we want to get, and we're able to accomplish it with hard work, commitment, and courage. So these are some points that I want to talk to you about today. So if anybody's out there listening, if you've done this before and you've had some struggle with accomplishing some goals, or have had some issues where you wanted to give up, what causes you to get back is resilience. So you must have that sense of resilience. As long as you're committed to something and you're breathing, you still have every chance to accomplish that. There are some people out there that took them a lifetime to accomplish a goal. I'll tell you a story. One of the stories I have is years and years ago, I lived next to an elderly couple as a child. And what I found out later was this woman was always told that women should not go to college, they should be pregnant, have children, and have a family. And that men will be the providers of the family, that's it. So she had some negative situations that she dealt with as a child. And as she grew up as a woman, she said to herself, I want to go to school, at least get my bachelor's or master's degree. But she never had the opportunity. Would you believe that in her late 60s or 70s, I can't remember the exact time frame, but around that time she went back to Brookdale and then also went to other colleges to get her bachelor's degree, and she did. So it just shows you that no matter how old you are, if it's still deep in your heart that you want something bad enough, you'll do it. And there's just a sense of accomplishment for her because she was told that it wasn't necessary. So it's really important that you stay focused on what you want to do. So when you look at yourself, think about the vision that you have about achieving a goal. And if you've had some setbacks, what makes you more committed today than you were yesterday? And that is going every single day, doing the same routine and the little steps that get you to your actual goal. So another story I'd like to tell you about is the gentleman that I had the grace of God to actually be in front of and listen to at this particular conference. And this gentleman, his name is Chef Jeff Henderson. And he's a very famous chef. He's on, what's the name of that? Food Network. He has his own show. He's written books. If you could see it, you can be it. So one of his stories that he had spoken about was his own story about how he had $1 million business a year in selling drugs. Never did any drugs, but sold drugs in the 80s and 90s, and then was sent to prison for it around 1986, 1987, and got out in about 1997 or 1996. And he was making $35,000 a week. Yes, $35,000 a week, unfortunately selling crack cocaine to people. So he said many a times in that speech that he was not proud of his life, but he couldn't not talk about it. He had to tell everybody about his life so other people can see where you can go from. So he was in a very poverty-stricken area of California. He lived in Los Angeles and San Diego area. And when he was in prison, he was introduced to cooking. And in that process, he became one of the head chefs there in the jail as an inmate. He was given that opportunity. And he started to create a passion for cooking. And what he said to himself was, he said, this is a ticket for me to get out of this circumstance. So in those 9 years, almost 10 years that he was there, he was thinking about his dream that one day he would have the opportunity to take everything he had done wrong and change it 100% or 1,000%. So what did he do? Everything that he found to be information for him to be better in life, he took upon himself to study and examine what successful people were doing. So he read a lot of books, and he also met some people that were successful because he was in a federal prison, and some of those prisoners were successful businessmen. And being that he wanted to be a successful entrepreneur at some point in his life, the legitimate way, he studied everything they did, how they ate, how they spoke, how they dressed, all things that they would do to be successful. He got all that information from them. And then by the time he left his jail sentence, he started to get more and more involved with his culinary arts. He didn't go to culinary arts school, he mentioned, but what he did is he studied so many famous chefs, and he saw chefs that were African American that he was inspired by and saw what they did. And he went to the places that some of these places had these folks, and he went to work there. He started as a dishwasher and then worked his way up to get closer and closer to the chef. And then he also met a very famous chef, and he started to even have more of a passion for this. So one of his best statements is, I had to create what is success for me. What is the definition of success? So as I said before, you have to have a vision. You have to be committed. You have to write your goals down. You have to understand that there's going to be days where you're going to give up or want to give up, but you still have to stay in the routine. You still have to stick to it. Because just because it's not happening to you today and it's not actually happening for you, no success is happening to you right now, you have to plant the seed. You have to keep working at it until it becomes effortless. And as you develop more and more of a stronger attitude, so one of the things we have to do is we have to develop that attitude that says, I cannot quit. There's no reason for me to quit because I haven't gone anywhere yet. So when you start a journey, it's not going to come very fast. It's going to come with hard work and the pursuance of that. You have to go after what you want. And now the issue that is most important here is our attitude. Our attitude has a lot to do with which becomes a barrier in your quest to get what you want. There are so many people out there that tend to push you and say, you know what, just give up. You're not going to make it. You're wasting your time. There's no reason for you to keep going. So these are things that people can tell you. And a lot of times, what if you said to yourself, famous people that you see out there, like Martin Luther King, what if Martin Luther King said, you know what, I'm just going to pack it up. I'm not going to do anything about civil rights. Nobody's going to listen to me. I'm a nobody. How anybody going to listen to me? Can you imagine if he didn't do that? Can you imagine if Gandhi said, forget about it. I'm not going to help people in India. I'm not going to talk about people's rights. I'm not going to fight for them. What if other people in history that helped women to vote back in the 1920s, what if that person said, no, I'm not going to do anything. They're not going to listen to me. I'm a woman, so why do it? Well, guess what? When we're pushed in a direction like a corner, we have to fight back, but fight back with some smartness, some effectiveness. We really need to say, what is it that I'm doing this? Why am I doing this? You have to ask yourself the question, why? And what's the purpose behind my actions of doing this? Why do I want to do this so badly? So when you look at your own feeling of, I want to be successful in this, or this. I want to be well educated. I want to create something. I want to write a book. I want to have a restaurant, or I want to have a business, or whatever thing that you want to go after. You have to ask yourself, why is it that I'm doing that? And what would I get out of it if I was able to accomplish it? So the other part of this is you have to visualize yourself actually obtaining that particular goal that you had set in your mind. And every day that it looks like it's not going to work, that's when you need to even be stronger. Yes, you have to be stronger at that point. That's when we need to be as strong as we ever have been at that moment, because that's the critical part of being a success or failure. When things are getting really, really bad and they're not working out, you have to take time, settle, think about it, and say, well, maybe I need to do this a different way. Maybe my approach to this is not the best way. Maybe I could do it a little differently. So sometimes we have to ask ourselves, maybe I need some help from somebody else. I need to gather information from somebody else maybe to help me out that knows better than me. And you have to be able to listen to people that are successful in what you're trying to do. So if you were trying to build a business, you absolutely have to listen to somebody who's already been there and who's already been successful in your journey that you're taking. Now, of course, you have to do it your own way. You got to make it happen for you, because if you talk to Bill Gates, you're not going to be Bill Gates. You're going to be another version of Bill Gates, which is yourself. So whoever your name is, Jim Johnson, you're going to be the next Jim Johnson, and that means something else to, in that situation. So Bill Gates is Bill Gates because he built a brand. So one of the things that this guy said is you build your brand, you build who you are as a person. Don't try to be like somebody else. Don't try to be like Bill Gates. Don't try to be like Martin Luther King. Don't try to be like Gandhi. Don't try to be like the women rights activists. Don't try to be anybody else but yourself. And you got to understand you are true. You are unique. You are here for a reason. You're on this earth. You are purposeful. You have a meaningful message to give, maybe. Some of you out there are good at something, and you help other people, and you make their lives impacted. That's something that you may not take too closely. You may take it for granted. So think about what you do that helps other people, and maybe that's your passion. Think about your passion. What do you strongly want to achieve? What do you get goosebumps about? What do you get passionate about? Those are things that you want to keep in mind. So our mindset, we have to be careful of not allowing other people to rent space in our head. So when negativity is coming from all corners, you got to sit down and say to yourself, those people are trying to help me, but they're also maybe trying to discourage me. So think about what it means to you if you pass that finish line. When you get through that finish line, how are you going to feel? How are you going to believe of what you did? Do you believe that you are great at that moment? Maybe not. But the more you push forward, that greatness will come. I'm sure, if I were to speak to Dr. Martin Luther King right now, he would tell me I was struggling and I was going to give up, not talk to people because I was afraid that people would kill me because of what I was saying. But when you believe in something so strong and so powerful, and you think that it means something to someone else, that's when you know you got to do it. So those people that have invented things, there's people that invented the car, the traffic light. If those people didn't push themselves, we wouldn't have those things today. So they had a vision, and they made their vision come to fruition. They made it happen. And it's in front of us today because of that hard and effort and the sweat and the tears. It's all wrapped up together, and that creates success for people. So when you look back on your life, if you think about what you have as a successful moment, what does that look like? So if anybody's here, tell me, what is it that you say about success? How do you define success? If anybody's here, please let me know what you define as success. What is your take on that? Okay, somebody's not answering. That's okay. So on the replay, maybe you guys can post that at the end. What is your definition of success, and how would you get there? So if you want to be financially successful, what does that look like? How much money are we talking about? What does that money get you? What does it bring you? Does it just bring you comfort in paying your bills, or do you want to be financially free or debt-free? Maybe that's something that you want. If you want to have better health, that could be a sense of success, that you've accomplished something to maintain your health in the right way. You've been successful overcoming a weight loss challenge. Maybe you're trying to lose 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, And now you're able to do it because you stuck with it, and now you've lost 20, but now you even lost 30, so you actually lost 10 more pounds than your original goal. So these are all things that can create that in someone. So when we're trying to build that stronger mindset, we have to identify what are the limitations that we have and what are our strengths. And if we capitalize on understanding the strengths and the weaknesses of what we have, that's the starting point. The other is, like I said before, you have to have a vision. You have to stay committed. When things look worse, that's when you have to keep going more and more. And then you may have to make some adjustments along the way and ask yourself, do I have to do something different here in order to be successful in my journey? What can I learn from experts who have already gone through this particular dilemma that I've gone through, this arduous task? Who else has been able to do what I've done? And what can I learn from them? Can I read a book that tells me how to go through this process? So being able to listen and being able to understand that there's always going to be a struggle towards building success in your life. But if you stick to it, you will succeed. I can assure you of that. You've always have to have that resilient drive to get in there and go through the trenches, and then when you come out, you're going to be a much more appreciated individual as a result of going through that situation. I can definitely say for certainty that that would probably happen to all of you. It's happened to me. I'm presently, right now, I'm a 4th degree black belt, been there for a long time. I didn't get there just 1, 2, 3. It took me many years. I've been in martial arts for 40 years. I started teaching when I was 11 years old, and I taught many, many walks of life from ages 8 all the way up to 78, or even further than that. And there was some problems in that time period because people didn't believe that an 11-year-old could teach them karate. And they said, wait a minute, this guy, what does he know? So I had to go against a lot of uncertainties, and people doubted me, and you can go through that too. You could have self-doubt and self-loathing and self-sabotage. You can start doing something, and because it's not coming fast enough, you sabotage your journey, and you say, forget it, it's not going to work. That's not true. That's when you got to change the way you think. So if I would have let those people say, this kid doesn't know anything about martial arts, my actions spoke louder than words. When they saw what I was capable of doing, then they started to realize that I knew what I was talking about. So obviously, I'm not going to do something I don't know about. But at that moment, at 11 years old, I knew how to teach somebody martial arts. Of course, I was going to get better, but I didn't know how to do it. And that's the main thing. I stuck to what I know, and I didn't go any further than that. So I only stuck to what I knew. That's the key also. Stick to what you know. Now, if anybody else is out there listening, it's really important that no matter what you do to go after that goal, you have to stay present in the situation. The minute you give up, you just don't, you're not a failure. Don't forget that. You're not a failure if you stop. All it is you put a question there. You put a question mark. What if he kept on going? What if she kept on going? What could have